Well, let's go to Chicago and speak to Anna Tarkov from the pressure group Families Belong Together. Anna, the judge in this case talked about the remarkable achievement by immigration officials for reuniting families. Do you agree? I mean, how many will have been reunited by the deadline?
As far as we know, it is a very small number. Even the deadline for the children under 5 was not met. Approximately half of those 103, 100. It's also difficult to get exact numbers, unfortunately, including the total number of children that have been separated. We've heard as high a number as 3,000 and as low a number as 2,100, and that's one of the issues is that there's very little transparency of this entire process.
Well, when
But
you say a significant number, I mean, are we talking about hundreds or potentially thousands? I mean, the numbers I've got were 2,551, I think, parents had been deported, and 1,187 children were due to be reunited. Does that agree with your figures or not?
No, so far, again, information is very hard to come by from this government, from this administration, unfortunately, even though obviously people are trying to get that information, including our own Congress, who has made bipartisan inquiries to try to get accurate information about these families, and they have not been met. And so we have the most recent figure we have heard is that somewhere between 300 and 400 parents were deported. I apologize, I don't have the exact number, but it was reported recently in a Washington Post story. So that is a high number, though, as well, of parents that have been deported without their children.
Okay,
Um,
so just before we came to you, we saw the story about Brian, who's been reunited with his grandmother Rosa, which is great news. What about some of the case studies you have? What about some of the people you've been talking to? What are their backgrounds and their stories?
we have dealt specifically most recently with one family that I can tell you about. We don't deal directly on the ground with families as much as organizations who that's their primary purpose. We're mainly engaged in national level advocacy and local level advocacy. But we did have a family or a man, a father, contact us on our Facebook page who was just obviously reaching out to anyone he could to get help for his family. He came here from Guatemala approximately 4 years ago, and he lives in the San Francisco Bay Area. And his wife and daughter remained in Guatemala, but owing to the fact that there was a threat on his daughter's life by local gangs, they said that if they didn't pay them $10,000, that his daughter would be killed. His 5-year-old, probably daughter at the time. And so at that point, the mother and daughter decided that they should make the journey to the U.S. to, save her life. They didn't have the money to pay the gang, so they came, and it was, of course, during zero tolerance already, and the mother and daughter were separated. The mother was in detention in Texas, and the daughter was sent to a facility in Arizona run by Southwest Key, which is one of these large
Okay.
nonprofits, technically, that run these
I know we're running
facilities.
out of time, but do you know if that child will be reunited or not?
They actually have been reunited, which is wonderful, but unfortunately, the trauma of this separation, which lasted over 55 days, will last a lifetime for the
All right.
child and the parents.
Okay, but good news on that front. Anna Tarkov, thank you
No.
very much indeed.
Thank you for having me.